Now, China launched 2 days of military exercises around Taiwan, saying the drills were a strong punishment for the self-ruled island's, quote, separatist acts. China sees Taiwan as a breakaway province that will eventually be under Beijing's control, but the island sees itself as distinct. China's military released these images of the drills. They come 3 days after the inauguration of President William Lai, who won Taiwan's election on a pro-independence platform. Now, Taiwan's defense ministry condemned the Chinese drills as irrational provocations and released these images of Mr. Lai inspecting the troops for the first time as Taiwan's president. Mr. Lai called on China to stop threatening the island and to accept the existence of its democracy. And for more on this, we can speak to Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, a Democrat from Illinois and the ranking member on the China Committee in the House of Representatives. Congressman, great to have you back on World News America. We have seen this type of encircling exercise from China before. So what do you make of the level of this response?
Well, it seems like another temper tantrum from the Chinese Communist Party. It's senseless, it's provocative, and it's dangerous, Sumi, because it could easily escalate into an unintended confrontation, which could be catastrophic.
That would have been my next question, Congressman. I mean, what are the risks here of this actually escalating into something that both sides don't want to see at the moment?
Well, I think that when you have close proximity of military assets from the Chinese Communist Party with Taiwan air assets, for instance, in the what's called the Air Defense Identification Zone, the ADIZ, well, you could have a potential accident. You could have deaths. You could have injuries. And I just don't think that that is that doesn't make any sense. It would be something that is unnecessary. And I would just urge everyone to do what William Lai said in his inaugural address, which is let us keep the status quo and resolve all differences peacefully.
I'll come back to that address, but I want to ask you, this has also been a display of China's military might. What do you think these drills tell us about what a possible Chinese attack could look like?
Well, Xi Jinping, the paramount leader, has commanded the People's Liberation Army to be prepared to successfully invade and conquer Taiwan by the year 2027. And we need to take him at his word, Sumi. And so in light of that, we need to do everything we can to equip Taiwan with what it requires to deter such an invasion or deter aggression on the part of the PRC.
You mentioned President Lai, Taiwan's new leader. China sees him as a separatist, a troublemaker, someone who is advocating for the island's independence. He is indeed considered to be more of a firebrand than his predecessor. So what implications do you think his term will have on peace across the Taiwan Strait?
Well, I think he's been very clear that he wants to maintain the status quo. He wants to abide by the current situation and not adopt any provocative measures on the part of Taiwan. But at the same time, we don't want provocative measures on the part of the CCP. And so I think that is the best course forward, not only for the region, but for China. You have to remember, China's economy is tanking right now, Sumi, and it would be best for the CCP to repair its own economy, lower tensions, lower aggression, because doing the opposite would be counterproductive.
While we have you here, we want to ask you one question about TikTok. It's announced that it's instituting new rules to limit the reach of state-affiliated media accounts, so that they can't advertise outside of their home country. That seems like an effort to rein in foreign propaganda. That is one of the reasons that you supported the legislation for TikTok to be sold or banned. Is this the type of transparency that could make TikTok's use viable in the U.S.?
Well, the primary justification for this legislation is that TikTok, which is owned by ByteDance, which is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, has access to our personal information at a scale and with intentions that pose a national security threat. That is the primary justification. All the other stuff that you're talking about is not really relevant to the core reason for why the legislation is necessary. But at this point, I just would say to ByteDance, it's time to sell. The clock is ticking, so to speak, and it's time to sell TikTok.
Just a quick follow-up to that. ByteDance says it has no plans to sell. So where do you think this is headed?
I don't believe a word that ByteDance says. They have zero credibility on Capitol Hill. and their executives have come and testified, made various misrepresentations about TikTok, ByteDance, and the relationship to the Chinese Communist Party. And that's indeed why 360 members of Congress on a bipartisan basis overwhelmingly supported the legislation at issue.
Right. All right, Congressman, always great to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simi.